So, before I get into this video, I feel the need to give a warning. Being a white South African, we tend to say some real shit. Hell, ask colored South Africans, they'll say the same real shit. Basically, we'll say a lot of very blunt things and shrug if it hits a raw nerve. So Jon Stewart came out recently and went full sellout, hopping on the bandwagon. What a surprise! Then again, he is a Jew and they like their shekels, and if you think that joke's rough, buckle up, it's gonna get much worse. So he starts his show with a god-awful dialogue that has all the comedic prowess of a car battery hooked up to your genitals, complaining about white people. What an original take. And then he mentions George Floyd because for some reason martyring a career criminal junkie who died of a drug overdose is really good optics for an honest conversation about race relations. Hey, what about all the black people that think that's a really stupid idea and don't think that's such a wise move? Well, we don't give a shit about their opinion, they're whitewashed sellouts. And we get the usual suspects, the activists or whatever the hell else complaining, as well as this black woman saying, people ask, why do you burn down the community? Why do you burn down your own neighborhood? It's not ours, we don't own anything. Well, congratulations, you fucking idiot, you just explained why white flight is a thing. My word, with that kind of attitude, it's no wonder everywhere you people go, property value tends to plummet. And then we get the bollocks of poverty of black and white areas, the downward spiral of what used to be prosperous areas in the United States, as well as the destruction of the black family. Geez, I wonder if the government had a hand in either of those. Would you like to take a look into those, John? Fuck no. That requires research into the land of things Democrats did to fuck shit up. And he has no interest in having that conversation. And he really should, because their examples of systemic racism mentions FDR, who was a progressive Democrat. His guest brings up government jobs, and who was responsible for the resegregation of the federal government? Woodrow Wilson, another progressive Democrat. Who was responsible for the destruction of the black family? LBJ, who said, I'll have these, voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Another Democrat. So it's really funny to me that all of their examples of systemic racism were all done under Democrats, and their solution is to vote in more Democrats. Government is never the problem, but for some reason government is always the solution, and then they can't figure out why so many think they're all fucking retards. You know, for a country that prides itself on so many thinking government sucks and is inefficient, how there is also this massive push for more of it is frankly mind-boggling. And there's also the mentioning of the cliché disparate statistics between blacks and whites, and then that sit-down he did with this whale of a creature. Quite sure this 300-pound plus sea mammal behemoth thinks the phrase pig in a poke means she gets to be drowned in an avalanche of Turkish kebabs, but anyway. The conversation of systemic racism, or even the statistics, is my favorite stupid conversation. Because something that I have noticed, no one wants to ever have a real fucking conversation about how those statistical disparities actually come about, or address the other elephant in the room, which are the other minorities. You will notice the racial disparities these dipshits want to focus on is only between blacks and whites. No one wants to talk about the dominance of, say, Asians and Jews. No one has the cojones to step in between the bickering between blacks and whites and go, yeah, shut the fuck up, both of you. Do you see those Asians and Jews over there who are kicking the shit out of this white majority? Yeah, is it perhaps something that they do that you don't do, and vice versa? Is it possible that those things might be the reason for your disparities? Is it perhaps a cultural difference? No one is ever going to have that conversation in a million fucking years. But I'll say the blunt force trauma truth because I don't give a fuck. It is because black Americans are known for being loud, stupid, socially irresponsible, and would fail third-grade English, and have a subculture that worships drugs, violence, and sexual promiscuity. And maybe, just maybe, that leads to a disproportionate amount of interaction with the police, which is going to lead to a natural prejudice against blacks due to this repeated interaction, because repetitious interaction is how humans learn anything. And this behavior being posted and boasted about on social media and making the news en masse is what further fuels this bad reputation. Also doesn't help that blacks commit more crimes against those outside of their race than any other race. And why do you think that is? And the main cause for all of this is a lack of a responsible male presence. It is the lack of fathers. We can see this in their birth rates. Almost 3/4 of black children in America are born out of wedlock. 3 times higher than whites, despite the fact that whites outnumber them 5-1. That is a disparity worthy of a conversation. But of course, no one is going to have that conversation. That requires self-reflection and realizing that black people are partly to blame for that. Or even a more heinous admission that white people are actually right about something. Oh, what blasphemous horrors I utter. But again, this was all due to that white bastard LBJ's disastrous Great Society programs, who decided to pull the black male from the family and replace him with money supplied by the state, all to get the black females hooked on voting for the Democrats. An act that has been, unfortunately, very successful, considering over 90% of black females vote for the Democrats. It is by far the largest voting monolith in the United States today. Now, the solution to this is very easy. Roll back welfare. But considering that is political suicide, no one touches it with a 10-foot pole. Now, is this indicative of black people overall? Of course not, that's ridiculous. There's plenty of black people who think this kind of self-destructive behavior is stupid as hell. They're called conservatives, and if my buddy Venom ever watches this video, what's up, man? But systemic racism is the absolute biggest load of wank. But when a racial disparity favors blacks, then they'll whistle a different tune. Up until you point out the logical conclusion of the disparity, in which case they'll get really mad or shut the hell up. So for example, black people are really well represented in, say, the NBA and NFL. So there's a lot of competition from blacks to get into the NBA and NFL, and only a few ever get selected. So how does that happen? What is the criteria for the few who get selected? Test of skill, work ethic, attitude, maybe? Who knows? So why then is it that they can succeed really well in this arena, but if it's an area dominated by white people, then all of a sudden it's systemic racism? But we don't need to be a genius to see that makes absolutely no fucking sense. It is so weird to me that a country that's supposed to be hyper-individualistic is so hell-bent on collectivizing the shit out of their society. Anyone else notice the only people who buy this crap are leftists? It's almost like it has nothing to do with race whatsoever. It's just a shitty ideology that desperately needs this piss-poor gimmick currently on life support to survive, otherwise it'll die off. How this ideology got any ground is baffling to me. The leftist world is hilariously stupid. How do you people have no problem exporting the very same stupid thing that's harming you, while also praising cultural diversity, and yet at the same time not grasp that other lands that you're exporting your crap to has that diversity of culture that is incompatible with yours? How do you people not eat your own face? And that's all for today. Until next time.